Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning, featuring myself, Tom Colohue. We are of course going to be talking wrestling today, and of course our main story is going to be about the takeover of the WWE by The Rock. We are going to be discussing what the plans are for WrestleMania for The Rock, for Cody Rhodes, for Seth Rollins. We're also going to be talking the involvement or lack thereof of Triple H, the chances of The Rock winning the championship, how often we're going to be seeing him going forward, and plenty more on top of that. We're also going to talk a little bit about Stardom, a little bit about William Regal, a little bit about Tony Khan. We're going to touch on the federal investigation currently ongoing about Vince McMahon, a little bit on Liv Morgan, as well as Bayley's place on the WrestleMania card. This is going to be one of those shows where the first 10 minutes or so is just a lot of news clarifying everything going on right now, because there is a lot going on right now. I know a lot of you really want to know the details, and I've got a hell of a lot that I can tell you. Hit like if you can. We've got 48 people here already. Let's get it up to about 48 likes. Go crazy. Get those numbers flying. We will be answering your questions. We will, of course, be recapping some of this over the course of the show. This will not be a show where we start, sending people back to the beginning, because there is so much to cover. Let's dive in straight from the off and talk about what is going on with The Rock. So, The Rock met last month with Nick Khan and Ari Emanuel and other representatives of TKO. Triple H was not involved in this discussion. Neither were many of the top executives of the WWE, including, employed at that time, Vince McMahon. This happened outside of Vince McMahon, just to be clear on that one. In this meeting, the discussion took place as to what it would take for The Rock to return and what it would take for The Rock to return to stay. A large part of this was 30 million worth of company bonds, company stocks, and value which immediately went into The Rock's portfolio upon becoming a member of the board of directors, but there was plenty more added to it. He did request a run with the championship. I can confirm he did, as part of that negotiation, request a run with the top championship. He also brought in his own man, Brian Gewirtz, I believe that's how you pronounce it, as his own personal head of creative. That is not a man currently working with the creative team. It's also not someone who's already discussed with Triple H. Technically, he does work under Triple H, but this particular run with The Rock does not involve Triple H whatsoever. Now, when it comes to the return of The Rock, he is planning to be a lot more involved in the wrestling ring, multiple matches per year when his schedule allows it. This is not sounding like a one and done, though of course if the match goes badly, he may change his mind on that. But this is not going to be a one and done as it is planned right now. The reaction to The Rock so far, as many of you know, has been terrible, and this is making a lot of people very happy. I need to go into a lot of detail on this one, but there's a lot of people very happy with the poor reception to The Rock. One of those people, which will surprise no one, is CM Punk. CM Punk, of course, has never been so easily proven right. Never been so easily proven right when it comes to a promo with Cody. He did say a bigger superstar was coming, and let's just say The Rock came, and he came in abundance. Thank you very much for following on Twitch, Barto. Welcome to the show, and thank you very much for showing your support for a Cody Rhodes in the chat. We will have more to tell you. We're going to dive into that immediately. 85 people watching, 28 likes, 1 minute away from the moment when we do the cutoff for our record. 5 more likes keeps that record flowing, so please do consider hitting that like if you haven't already. It will guarantee more viewers, more growth, more chance for me to one day go full time for very little from you guys other than being here, which is sort of the dream, as it were. Now, Triple H may well push back on the possibility of a championship run for The Rock. Triple H is still the chief content officer, and while Nick Khan made the deal, not Triple H, Triple H still has a lot of power and a lot of say, particularly over the main event of WrestleMania. If he doesn't have control over that, what the hell control does he have after all? Thank you very much, Pete. I appreciate you subscribing, using your Prime account for a third month. Thank you very kindly for that. We also have a very generous donation from Martin, a £5 donation. Thank you very kindly. Also says it makes the Royal Rumble win pointless now, to be honest. We will be discussing that. Don't you worry whatsoever. 2 more likes gets us to 40. Please keep them coming. The Rock. The meeting between Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel and The Rock, they worked together on the return deal. Triple H was not involved. This essentially means that Nick Khan, who is not involved in creative of WWE, overruled Triple H with a creative decision for the single biggest wrestling match of the year. This deal was made with a view to putting The Rock versus Roman Reigns into the main event of WrestleMania. Not only that, but we're going to be talking serious cloak and dagger right now, because while it was a couple of weeks ago that The Rock moved into the board of directors and the entire deal was made official, that is not when the WWE made this news public knowledge. Public knowledge was on SmackDown. When it came to the wrestlers, well, even Cody Rhodes did not necessarily see this one coming before the Royal Rumble. I've been speaking to people backstage to find out who knew what and when. As far as I can tell, as I originally reported on Twitter, the change was only made official a couple of days before Cody actually announced it. Pardon me. At the Royal Rumble, and indeed at Monday Night Raw, the vast majority of the locker room believed that it would be Cody versus Roman. And even though we had the injury to CM Punk, the belief was a replacement would be found to face Seth Rollins, and it wouldn't be that big a concern. Ultimately, the idea still seems to be that it's more about Damian Priest than it is about CM Punk. So that is being mentioned at this point in time. Thank you very much, Pete, once again for renewing your membership on the other side, both Twitch and YouTube. Thank you kindly for your continued generosity. So while that has been happening with Cody and Roman, it wasn't until a couple of days before that Cody found out, and not many people knew even when Cody was stepping out into the ring. Now, the WWE, and I'm told that this includes Triple H, are happy with the reaction for Cody Rhodes. There's been reports from Dave Meltzer that there is essentially a Daniel Bryan plan at the moment. However, to my knowledge, there is no plan to essentially make Cody the heir apparent to Daniel Bryan. This was not intentional. Triple H is not intentionally trying to ruin Cody's life to get more sympathy behind him. That's not the case here. Triple H was overruled, and Triple H is reacting as best he can. Mostly in a similar manner to how The Rock acted, a little bit cloak and dagger. Seeing Cody get the love he is getting is making Triple H very happy, and it does feel like right now there's a fight ongoing for control of WWE, particularly the main event of WrestleMania, and with fans at least right now, Triple H is winning. For Cody Rhodes' part, he's expected to step sideways into the CM Punk role where he can face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Meanwhile, now that a number of wrestlers do know what has happened, certain ones who are close to Triple H are breaking ranks, and I'd be loath to say that it wasn't intentional. Logan Paul was the first in on the joke, with his sharing of "We Want Cody." Also, Logan Paul really wants a match with The Rock. We're going to see a lot more of those. A lot more of those, okay? A lot more wrestlers coming out, in support of Cody. This is setting a very clear agenda that the Chief Creative Officer does have control over. The Chief Creative Officer could certainly create a narrative whereby The Rock's return is not at all well received. You're also going to see a lot of people in wrestling media making their opinions known, especially when it's not their opinions, they're just repeating what other people have told them. Just to be clear on that one. Now, one last thing on this particular topic. As someone who has received death threats over a report that NXT UK would be closing, funnily enough that has been confirmed that NXT UK was discussing closing at the time, I do not condone anything like this. Death threats are never okay under any circumstances. And when it comes to the overall level of passion, there's healthy passion and there's unhealthy passion. You can pick a side, you can have a great time, you can cheer and you can boo. death threats are never okay. Some of the overall attacks going either Cody's way or The Rock's way or just WWE's way, completely unjustified. Tell you what I haven't seen, any of this aimed at people such as Vince McMahon, because a large part of why people are happy backstage right now is because the Vince McMahon story sure vanished quickly, didn't it? The Vince McMahon story sure vanished quickly. We have plenty more to get to. We're going to be talking Stardom, Tony Khan, Vince McMahon, William Regal a little bit, Liv Morgan and Bayley. We'll also recap a little bit more of that. But at this point, I'm going to swap to answering your questions. If you've asked a question, please ask it again so I can get to it now, because I'm a little bit behind. I haven't been reading the chat for the last 10 minutes, apart from when things pop up as regards membership and stuff, because I do feel it's really important to thank people when they support this channel. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who is a channel member, everyone who gifts donations, gifts subs, and follows and subscribes, of course, on either side. Thank you to everyone for that. I will now start taking questions as best I can and saying hello to everyone I can before we get to the next piece of news. We also only need one more like to get to 50, so please consider being my one. Gonna have a quick drink of lemonade just to calm it down. Right, gotcha. Questions are coming in. Ooh, first one's from Cal. Just says, when will people understand Tommy's the number one reporter is the best? Thank you, Cal. I appreciate you. Tyler says, hello, everyone. Hello, Tyler. Razar says, people have taken the We Want Cody thing too far. It's not even that serious anymore. It feels like people were just waiting to go off on WWE after booking. It feels forced now. I feel a lot of anger is being channeled at people other than Triple H. I feel it's a really intense moment right now in WWE. People are angry at the wrong thing. They really are. Esteban says, where is Sheamus? To my knowledge, he is still recovering from injury. I'm not aware of a return date as of yet, but I expect him to return sometime after WrestleMania, shortly after WrestleMania, because right now there's no storyline that really requires him. Cal says, Tom, you talking about Vince's controversy going away makes me think that was the plan. It wasn't. So when it comes to the whole Vince controversy, they're not hiding it by doing this. This was planned before Vince McMahon resigned and the court filing was made public. Robin Dave says, do you know if they will confirm Rock Roman on Thursday? That seems to be the intention, yes. Miss AC says, money news. As regards Mercedes money, I put out a 6-second short with the most definitive update you will ever see on Mercedes money when I reported openly Mercedes money has signed with AEW. I reported on spoiler warning first, of course. Everyone who joins this show will get the news first. Whatever I post on Twitter, whatever I post in the shorts, that's all after the fact. Q43 says Sami Zayn was getting threats under his tweet. Ridiculous. Joey's very, very angry at The Rock. Eric says, I can't believe they're so out of touch. Joey says, what is WWE's reaction to all the backlash they get on social media and from the wrestlers? Depends what you define as WWE. Okay, depends what you define as WWE. As regards Nick Khan, is not particularly happy that his overall plan isn't working. As regards Triple H, I wouldn't say that's the same thing. Hey Mustafi, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Sofix says, do you see a mass exodus of Stardom talents, and do you see some of them going to WWE and AEW? More on that shortly. I know many deals are coming up soon. Who are renewing their contracts other than Becky and Seth? I am not going to sit here and be able to say this person's renewing their contract, because if they don't, I'm suddenly a liar. Eric says, I don't love the Rock Roman match, but I can get it. That match will put asses in seats, and it will. Yes, Joey, will be discussing that soon. HCar says, any news on Rich Holland? It looks like he may be going long-term down to NXT. Buck's Basement. Goldberg Brock was fun. Razar says, the WrestleMania start time has been moved up. Is this because they want to make the shows longer or something? We did discuss this on Friday's spoiler warning, in which we did cover the intention to go more international with WrestleMania, so an earlier start time fits well with areas such as France, where they're going to do a Paris show soon, Germany as well, and here in the UK. Once to say, Tom, I've told a lot of people about your report on Mercedes money being AEW bound. They are all in denial. I want you to remember this one, because after it's proven right, remind them. Buck says that WWE aware that Philly is an unforgiving crowd and they'll boo the crap out of The Rock and Roman and hijack the match and make it a clown show. Yeah. They've never let that stop them before. Dylan says, I swear if The Rock wins, I'm not going to watch WWE ever again. Also, do you think they're going to announce the match this Thursday at the press conference? The reason that the press conference is happening and they're selling a lot of tickets for a lot of money is because The Rock is there. And he has promised that he can shift a lot of tickets. They're giving him a chance to prove it. If it's not right, well, that may change things. Yes, wrestling is fake. This is real. The Rock really wants to face Roman Reigns this year. To be clear on this one, and I want to be very clear here, there is plenty of time for things to change. As I say, The Rock has an opportunity right now to prove that he can sell and move a lot of tickets. That doesn't mean he's going to succeed. Buck says, this report about Cody being the next Daniel Bryan makes zero sense. The whole Rock didn't expect to be turned on. Well, I'd imagine you don't always expect to be turned on. Sometimes you see something and you just react, mate. Cal says, I have a feeling WWE might tinker the sound at WrestleMania. The WWE tinkers the sound everywhere they go. Carmelina says, any news about Jey Uso? Jey Uso will be facing Jimmy Uso at WrestleMania. That is the plan going forwards. Jordan says, great stream so far, Tom. Thank you, Jordan. I guess Dave Meltzer's yearly report on The Rock wrestling at Mania is actually true this year. To be fair, the day before The Rock returned to the WWE, Dave Meltzer did report that the match might happen in Saudi Arabia. So it's an interesting one. I don't think we can give Dave Meltzer credit for it. Bless him. He's probably going to try, but I don't think we can really give him credit for this one. Robin Dave says, what's the plan for Cody at Mania? Is he facing Seth? That is indeed the plan at the moment. Glade says, Tommy, you're going to do more quiz? Hopefully they return. I want to. I really do. They're a really good way to grow because not many people use that page. Not many people use the community page. So it's a really easy way to get new eyes. And of course, if you as a viewer engage with them, it means you'll see the next one and you'll see the next one. And it snowballs. And then before you know it, they're getting plenty of views, and YouTube's like, oh, they're getting plenty of views. Let's put these everywhere. And you grow. There is a YouTube channel I've never connected with in any way, shape, or form. But whenever I see one of their trivia posts, I click because I'm interested. And that's what I want. And I think that was working. I do want to do it. I just don't have a lot of time. Joey says, did the main event get changed because The Rock decided last minute he wanted to work Mania? The Rock didn't decide last minute, but the match was booked last minute. Kelvin says, a lot of people want to see a rematch over fresh match nobody's seen before. Well, The Rock versus Roman certainly does that. And Cody Rhodes versus Seth certainly doesn't do that. Michael says, Rossi Ogawa, more on that shortly, confirms that Tokyo Sports is planning to establish a new promotion. Jordan says, Tom, do you think this would have happened if CM Punk didn't get injured? Yep, this was just decided before CM Punk was injured. Joey says, what happens to the chamber match then if Cody is going after Seth? My expectation is that Cody will be in the chamber in order to win the right to face Seth. But it's also very possible that they don't do a second chamber, or they do one for the tag team championships, or I feel more likely they decide Gunter's opponent using the chamber, which I think makes Gunter look incredible. Blue says WWE's already put asses in seats, they do it every week, which is also fair. Carl says if Cody won last WrestleMania, it wouldn't mean much if The Rock came back and won the belt. We've been invested for nearly 2 years. Cody's brought fans back after mediocre years. He deserves more. I also want to point out, I feel a large part of why there's so much hatred of The Rock right now is because a lot of CM Punk fans have returned and they remember what happened. Bailey says The Rock is 51, enough of the old men hijacking shows. Joey says WrestleMania's already sold out. They don't need The Rock for ticket sales. True, but they might get more viewers. It's never ending. Carl says, I fully expect Goldberg versus Lesnar boos for The Rock versus Roman. Again, I don't remember that many boos. I enjoyed it. Eric says, can Triple H do something about it without consequences? I mean, he's still head of creative, but I fear for his job if he decides to go against this decision. He may decide the consequences are worth it. Koo says The Rock's daughter Ava was getting death threats for just being The Rock's daughter. This is horrible. I wholeheartedly agree. Robin Dave says, are we getting another year of Roman? I've already reported what I can. The Rock was trying to get a championship run. That doesn't mean he's going to get it. 23 says, any more surprise at WrestleMania? Yes, mostly the results of matches. KJ corrects. Joey says, not sold out. They've reached the open capacity and they'll open more as time goes. That does make sense, considering what does tend to happen with arena sales like this. One says The Rock draws lapsed casuals who stopped watching. These people probably didn't want the WWF. Rock vs. H storyline was the second best, close to Stone Cold. I did enjoy The Rock vs. Triple H. I really did. I do think Shawn Michaels vs. Bret Hart is the best storyline the WWE have ever done. Marcel says, do you think the live crew will blue The Rock? Yes, and also no. Much like Roman Reigns, there were people who always booed him. Always cheered him, I should say. 23 says Roman or Rock. I'm not sure what you're referring to. That says, bless you, Tom, do you know when MJF will be back? Not just yet. He has got a bit more holiday and a bit more break ahead of him. And honestly, nobody deserves it more. That is scary, Pete. 23, neither. No idea what you're talking about. Makwawa says, we need Rock to win the WWE Championship. We don't need it. We never need anything. We don't need any particular champion. They could give us Chad Gable having every single championship belt. People would still watch. Leon says, is Cody challenging for the consolation prize title? Certainly feels that way, doesn't it? One thing I do want to point out, when it comes to the burial of his championship and Seth Rollins in general, that was scripted by, The Rock and his, what was his name? I've got it written up. The Rock and Brian Gewirtz, I was going to say Bruce, Brian Gewirtz have been more involved in the creative, and that does involve working more with Roman and his scripting as well. Plenty more comments to get through. We will be going through them and then continuing with the news as well as a recap of what we're talking about. We have 66 likes, 4 more gets us to 70. We've had more than 130 people in here. Can you give me that 4? Please do if you can. Bailey says, if Corporate Rock wants Hulk Hogan to meet Seth, does he get an okay too? Nope. Book says, fans don't want Cody and Seth. That's not a story we're invested in. Nope, you don't want that. You can't speak for every wrestling fan in the world. Cal says, however, it has to be said, Cody's one hell of a professional. How many wrestlers would have walked or reacted negatively in social media? He's just waiting to see what will happen. What a professional. To be fair, he left originally to form a new company, and then he didn't feel that at home in the new company. He may be time to work out what the actual plan is. I reckon if anyone knows it, it'll be him. Khalid says, I love spoiler warning. You're my favourite YouTuber and you do a great job on TikTok. Thank you, Khalid. I appreciate you for that. Sai says, just to point out, the Bloodline story has been running for years with The Rock in mind, long before Cody got here. There is more than one story in play here, and I do think that's absolutely right. Cody is the interloper, but he's also the one who's been there, so I get why both sides feel as passionate as they do. I'm more on the fence, because I'm a journalist. And no, 23, I've not seen Ryback's tweets, because why would anyone do that to themselves? Thomas says, do you see a way in which Cody gets inserted into the main event? There is always a way. Everything is on the table. No. Bounty says, I just want to as a wrestler. Okay, that's 3 times, Bounty. 3 times he mentioned that you're a wrestler. What I want you to do is either contribute or don't. And you come so close. You say we don't condone death threats. The death threats that Avery's getting right now needs to stop. Absolutely. Focus on that part. And don't keep reminding us that you wrestled one time, okay? Contribute. Be part of the community. You're welcome here. You're not just going to put yourself over. Sean says, at Vengeance Day, there was a graphic of a WrestleMania press conference and fans booed it and chanted, we want Cody. NXT fans are the most hardcore. Blue says, what would have happened to Cody if Seth versus Punk was going to happen? Good question. Very good question. I suspect double duty, as I mentioned previously. Robin Dave says, what if things get worse? Would they put Cody in a triple threat? Again, Joey says, Cody could just go back to AEW at this point of the way he's being booked. I don't think he could. King Alice says, hey Tom, I hope they do a swerve on Thursday, adding him in the WrestleMania 40 main event. As I've said, everything is still really up in the air right now. McGregor says, no one really wanted Roman versus Cody at Mania, which again, not true, but I do get that you're trying to parody people in here, McGregor. D. Freeman says, nobody's going to call out The Rock for announcing this match as a way to try to get people off of talking about Vince. Yes, he wanted this match, but he wanted to change the talk too. You don't know that, mate. You don't know that for certain unless you personally know The Rock. I feel this wasn't an intentional move because before everything announced with Vince McMahon, The Rock had already made the deal to be on the board of directors, which included this match. Sean says, how are you, Tom? Doing well, thank you. Doing well. Blue says, I do think we need to give Meltzer some credit. Cal says, I also agree, Tom, with your point. It's genuinely scary how people are more angry at The Rock than Vince McMahon. Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm going to bring it back, Blue. I thought I'd give myself a moment to work out what I wanted to say here. Meltzer finally got it right, and it is certainly true that they've been working on this for a while, but if they've been working on this for a while, maybe don't report that it's going to happen for 5 years. I don't think he gets credit here. Roger says, I don't see what all the fuss is about, Cody. I just accept what WWE want to do and move on. To be fair, WWE have been doing a pretty good job recently, giving us what we're after. Joey says, Logan Paul seems pissed that The Rock is getting the match. Logan Paul wants a match with The Rock, and let's be fair, who doesn't? Spider-Boss says, funny that people complain because Cody lost his WrestleMania main event, but people didn't complain when WWE gave Ronda the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble and WrestleMania match versus Charlotte at WrestleMania 38. Not even slightly true. Plenty of people complained about that. Let's not rewrite history. Also, Ronda won the Royal Rumble, went to WrestleMania. Cody won the Royal Rumble, didn't go to WrestleMania to face the one he wanted to face. That's the difference. His Royal Rumble win is now worthless. Carl says, if The Rock wins the belt, I can see The Rock versus Cena free in Saudi. The Worst Channel says, are there any reports of Roman doing a backstage politics during his 2020-2024 title run? Yeah, plenty. Mostly about breaking tables, though. Kristen says, I thought Bayley was incredible on Friday. I wholeheartedly agree. Book says, what you're saying is there's no hope to bring Cody back to the main event of Mania to face Roman. Again, at no point have I said that. At no point. You guys know what this means. Everything is on the table. I've made it clear throughout most of this. The Rock has an opportunity to prove that he can justify what he has already said he can justify. Now he's got to do it. Nothing is final. Okay? Nothing. And let's not pretend that I'm saying it is. McGregor says WWE should book Cody for the US Championship at WrestleMania. I wouldn't hate it. Blue says the best storyline was Brett versus Austin that dovetailed into heel Brett and the Hart Foundation versus the USA. Robin Dave says, do you know The Rock's next appearance? Thursday, if not tonight, but probably Thursday. Spider-Boss says, Roman really loves to roast the Raw roster and the World Heavyweight title, and why not? Courtney says, do you think Sheamus will come back at WrestleMania? Nope, I think he'll come back after WrestleMania. Joey says, don't get why people are hyped to watch a 5-minute Rock match so they can see him do 2 moves. We know full well, Joey, it's going to be at least 40 minutes long. And most of it, The Rock will be on the floor face down. Nelson says, who do you think becomes chairman, Triple H or Nick, or maybe co-chair? Neither. The chairman position is not of the WWE. The chairman right now is already Nick Khan. He is the chairman and has been for a long time of the WWE. Wow, Savik, I did not know that. Did not know that. Alex says, Zero News has said nothing will change because everything is locked in. Let's see how that goes. Robin Dave says, I bet that Triple H wasn't too happy about the change. Again, I've covered this as much detail as I can. Triple H, to my knowledge, is not unhappy with the reaction that's happening. Leon, thank you for sourcing, says Dijak, as in Dominic Dijakovic, contract is up in June this year according to Fightful. He's not had many opportunities. I do feel an area like AEW, he'll be able to go up the card a lot faster. And if he did that and then came back to WWE, he'd be a main event star. McWower says Rock and Roman are superstars, Cody's just a mid-carder, which he absolutely is not. Hector says if WWE doesn't pivot, they need Cody to explain his actions. If he doesn't, regardless of people backing him, he still looks like a fool by winning the Rumble, then pointing at Roman for no reason, which is absolutely fair. Cody historically has not shown enough of his individual personality for a lot of fans to connect with. Essentially, his entire story has been, I want the championship. That's kind of it. Which makes this all the more terrible. Now, there are some peaks of personality starting to come through. Primarily, he just really likes people. It is in Cody's character to step aside for someone like The Rock. It genuinely is. But the one defining characteristic is that he wants that belt. Oh, we're a little bit behind on the chat because Daz has just confirmed like 68. We're now at 77. 3 more to 80, guys. 3 more to 80. We have 154 people here. If we can get 3 more, we get to 80 likes. We start on the way to 100. Tom gets very hype. Dylan says, my issue with how this happened, forgive me for my harsh language, it should have happened at WrestleMania 38. Now we have another year of Roman's title reign and he's going to pass Hogan. You say that, The Rock wasn't available. That's the difference. Dane says the only truly decent member of the Noi clan was Rodney. R.I.P. Yokozuna. What do you mean decent? What's wrong with Roman as a person, man? Seems personal. Wrestling says people need to stop comparing Cody Rhodes to Daniel Bryan because Daniel Bryan never won the Royal Rumble. What I'll also point out is that the only person really making that comparison is Dave Meltzer. Blue says Cody can't be an interloper. He's the face who's been there outside an injury. He won the Rumble. And yet, in this story, he is the interloper. Cal says, and this came directly from CM Punk, the fact that Dwayne is in the main event of WrestleMania and I'm not makes me sick. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes sure have a lot of things in common all of a sudden. Absolutely right, Cal. Juan says, I also fear that the fans will destroy The Rock's career like they did with Batista. Batista's career is not ruined. He could have got through it. Blue says, why not just do double duty now? Good question. Good question. And I do kind of think that might still be coming. The way you said Cody couldn't go back, think he signed his new contract. Yeah. Oh, no, he did. Cody has signed a new contract. Cody is in WWE for a number of additional years. He'd have to request his release, and I just don't think it would happen. Also, I don't think he'd ask for it, to be fair. 23 says, do you ever think Cody will return to AEW? Probably yes, but only when he has not much left to give to WWE. KJ says, imagine if Cody stacked Rock and Roman at Mania to the biggest pop ever. Pardon me. Richard says, hello Tom, based on Logan Paul and Nick Aldis' segment on SmackDown this week, could we see Logan defend the US title in the Chamber? I think we could. I don't necessarily think that would be the best use of the Chamber. Personally, I would like to see the Intercontinental Champion Challenger decided in the Chamber. I just think that'd be great to have a lot of people who are currently stuck in the mid-card thrown into a Chamber and get a huge opportunity at WrestleMania for it. Ryan says, I'd be okay with a triple threat with Cody, Seth and Gunter. Cody pins Seth, build feud with Cody and Gunter, add to their Rumble face-off, get Gunter to win and vacate the Intercontinental Championship undefeated. I don't think that moment is coming. Zane says, Jim Ross says he's undergone another successful surgery. Hopefully, Ross recently had cancer surgery on his right hip as well. Source, Wrestling Observer. To be clear, Zane, while I appreciate you sourcing that, the source was a tweet by Jim Ross himself. King Ad says, Tom, was this done by design to get Rock a lot of heat and to get Cody over even more? Nope. Joey says, did you see NXT add a Japanese cryptic vignette last night? Do you know who it was for? Personally, I do not. I have my suspicions, which I'll get to shortly. Cal says, only way to make me happy now, Tom takes a bell off the Rock if he beats Roman. Wow. Robin Dave says, if Rock and TKO had an agreement for WrestleMania, why did Cody win the Rumble? And this is the big question coming out of all of this. This is why the cloak and dagger tactics have not helped anyone. If the plan was always for The Rock to swoop in and take that WrestleMania main event, why did Cody win the Rumble? Why didn't they have The Rock jump in on the Rumble and absolutely smash everyone to pieces? Why didn't that happen? It makes very little sense that didn't happen. No Number of the Devil, you can go back to the beginning and watch it, or I will recap shortly. Joey, again, more on that shortly. You're asking a lot of Stardom questions. You know I'm not going to answer them yet. 23, yes, some of them are still his friends. Aled says, do you think they announced Seth versus Cody tonight on Raw? No, because of the Nakamura match, but I think Seth tries. Dad says, when's the draft? The draft is not 100% at this point in time. I suspect after WrestleMania they'll start putting it together again. Carl says, people need to realise a lot can change in 2 months, and I mean a lot. Just have to wait and see. Will be an interesting few weeks in my opinion. Could have a lot of history-making moments. Backwards says, I still stand by my prediction. Roman holds the belt the rest of 2024. Carmelina, it's already started. SummerSlam. Keem says, is IC title in Chamber or tag titles in Chamber? I don't think any championships are in the Chamber. Eric says, what if Roman does both nights? I've mentioned that before. KJ says, Dijak feuded with AEW wrestlers online before. Dijak feuds with everyone. That's the sort of his thing. Spider-Boss says, people on social media overreact with Cody losing his WrestleMania main event. Isn't like Cody is slated into a tag team match at Mania like WWE put Mercedes and Sami Zayn in tag team matches. That one of those tag team matches was a main event, mate. Gal says, Tom, is it true that Aleister Black could be returning to the WWE? Robin Dave says, why are we getting Shinsuke Nakamura and Cody again for Raw? So that Cody can get a win and start to recover some momentum. Andrew says, Rock had his time. What was the point of Cody winning the Rumble? I'd actually love Cody to turn heel and attack Rock at Mania backstage and replace Rock and face Roman. Few things wrong with that, Andrew. Firstly, that would be Cody staying a face because The Rock would be a heel in that particular element. And also, attacking someone backstage doesn't guarantee you the main event of WrestleMania. That's not how that works. Kel says, we have to say Rock had 2 iconic matches against Cena and an insane match versus Punk, yet some might not want him in the main event, including me. However, his ability can't be questioned. Jack says, doesn't the Rock and Roman and Cody story make the SI article true now? Nope. Because Cody versus Punk is what was mentioned in the SI article, which is definitely not happening. Hector says, it's cruel irony that both CM Punk and Cody graced the cover of a WWE game in the same year they did, so they both lost their WrestleMania opportunities. CM Punk graced the cover? Was he in the WrestleMania one? At 23 Fresh, nobody signs with NXT. People sign with WWE and then they go to NXT. Koo says, do you think Andrade will be in the World Heavyweight Championship division or in the Intercontinental division? No. Spider-Boss says, fans on SmackDown liked the Roman versus The Rock stare down last Friday night. in the arena at the time, yes. Thomas says, I can honestly see Raw being hijacked with "We Want Cody" chant, and I see Triple H playing up to that very cleverly. Robin Dave says, how do you feel about the news, Tom? Open. I'm interested in seeing where they take it. I think they can do something which would keep me pretty happy. Michael says, WWE struggles to make their stuff make sense, historically. Thomas says, it feels like nobody would say anything if this was for next year's WrestleMania and not for the title. Number of the Devil says, do you think it could be a triple threat? Everything is on the table. Eric says, the Rock Reigns match would have been fantastic if the title wasn't involved, which would mean it will be exactly as fantastic, just as a belt at the end of it. Makes no difference, guys. Bailey says, if you think it's spicy now, imagine if CM Punk had won the Rumble and got stepped over. Yeah, that would be fun. True, Joey, that's fair. Cal says, obviously Triple H had no influence, but seeing the memes is quite funny. One says, hey Tom, is it still possible that WWE might have Roman hold the title till 2028? No. I want to go back to what Cal said there. Now I've had a moment to think about it. Triple H did have no influence, but here's the thing. A week ago, a huge amount of fans who were now cheering on Triple H were trying to throw him in with Vince McMahon desperately. So a week ago, Triple H was just a wall of crap coming his way. Couldn't get away from it. Now, the same people who were doing that are cheering him on and saying it's the best thing to ever happen to wrestling. Bryan Danielson got it right. Fickle. Wants to say, Tom, is it still possible that WWE might have Roman hold a title? I've already read that one. Eric says, either winner we get it will be a bummer. Nobody wants another part-timer. The main champion is a part-timer as well. Robin Dave says, if Cody gets added to the main event of night 2, what happens with Seth? Also a fair question. Razar says, my theory on Cody winning the Rumble is it was right after the Vince news, and maybe The Rock might have thought about backing out, so they had Cody winning case as a backup plan. Cody winning was not the backup plan. Cody winning the Royal Rumble was not the backup plan. Cody winning the Royal Rumble was the plan. It just so happened that there was another plan at the same time that they didn't know about. Spider-Boss says, sorry for asking again. According to PWInsider, The Rock pushed for his match versus Roman in many WWE, claimed The Rock even pushed to win the match. That was mentioned in that first 10-minute block of news, Spider-Boss. Robin Dave says, I just feel bad for Cody. He probably feels depressed. Or he doesn't. We don't know. Khalid says, I feel bad for Sami Zayn and Rock's daughter. They did not deserve hate. Her name's Ava, mate. Thomas says, I think the only way to rescue the situation is to have a triple threat match or to have Solo and Jimmy take out The Rock, leading to Cody stepping back up. Joey asks who forced the match to happen. Nobody forced the match to happen. A deal was made and the match was booked. Hector says, Tom, Punk was on WWE 13. Right, gotcha, Hector. That makes perfect sense now. Thank you. Gal says, Cody won't turn heel. He's got that John Cena level of love as a face at the moment. John Cena still gets massively booed, just to be clear. Joey says, I feel like Drew already has one foot out the door. He could have had a title match with Seth at Mania. Until he signs a deal, the WWE will not be willing to give him that big an opportunity. So I'm finally near the point of catching up. I'm going to do a bit more news, then we're going to do a recap. So there's going to be plenty still more going on. While I'm doing that, we have 91 likes. 9 more to 100. We have 148 people here. We genuinely peaked at 160 people watching. If you've not yet done so, subscribe. We go live Mondays and Fridays, same time, all the news right down here. You will get exclusive news that you will not get anywhere else. I was the first to report that Becky Lynch was returning when she did at SummerSlam. I was the first to report about Bray Wyatt signing a new deal. I was the first to report about Bayley's return at SummerSlam. I've been reporting plenty since, and I believe I'm the only one so far to report outright that Mercedes Money has signed an AEW contract after reporting for months on the exact situation there, as has been proven by a whole load of other reporters many weeks after. Subscribe if you haven't. Be sure to stick around. This is definitely the channel for you. I want to say a big thank you to D. Freeman, a very generous donation. I want to click that love heart, because why the hell not? Thank you very much, D. Freeman, who says, how can people really claim Rock versus Roman is going to do a number when every time WWE announce number, people call them a lie, like when they say sellouts? They can say that because regardless of whether the number they announce is true or not, there is still a number. We just can't say what it is with certainty. The number still exists. Keem says they could have done Solo versus The Rock at Mania. They didn't want to. Daniela says, Tom, who do you reckon wins the tag fatal 4-way? Names in there I don't like. Could not care less. Tushal gives us a hashtag for We Want Cody. Dylan says, if Triple H is able to fix all this, will he still be able to say no to the higher-ups for certain ideas? He's Chief Content Officer. If he can't, who can? Thomas says, Okada to WWE is what I took from the video package on NXT. Alan says, does Triple H even consider changing the plans? It could end badly for him and his job. Cal says, Tom is the best journalist around, ladies and gentlemen. He's number one. He's a GOAT in the wrestling world. Thank you, Cal. Thank you. Spider-Man says, all your reports about Mercedes money have been proven right. People need to acknowledge you. Thank you very kindly. Zane says, I think WWE will do whatever they can to deliver Rock versus Roman Reigns. It's really up to the live fans and people on Twitter to keep banging the drum for Cody. I could not agree more. If you want to make the WWE change, do not go quietly. Do not shut up at any point. Keep talking. Joey, you've asked me for a guess based on an assumption. Nope, an assumption based on a guess. Thomas says, might just be me here, but since the Rumble, the hype for Mercedes money has gone down for me, as it seemed obvious that she was AEW bound. Yeah. I said at the time she will not be there. She wasn't. Thank you, Spider Boss. We did have WTF Wrestling, which is our Sunday show talking about wrestling media and just in general the big stories in wrestling. We covered Brock Lesnar and his future with or without the WWE this Sunday. Thank you, Spider Boss, for watching it. Mr. Toxic says, do you think we'll see Big E soon? Yes. Yes, I do. Not necessarily in a wrestling ring. Yes, I do. Rossi Ogawa of Stardom, someone who literally was a founder of the company, has been removed by Bushiroad, the managing company overseeing Stardom. One of the many reasons is accusations against him that he's been working with the WWE to move talent from Stardom over to WWE. Thank you very much, Ty, for that subscription on the YouTube side. You'll get notifications every time we go live with Spoiler Warning and with our WTF Wrestling, PLE Wednesdays and Fun Fact Thursdays, in case you want to learn a bit more about Becky Lynch, Randy Orton and CM Punk's saxophone obsession. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming myself. So one of the many reasons that New Japan and Japanese wrestling in general doesn't have a great relationship with WWE is because of historic practices like this. When William Regal returned, I made it clear one of the first things he was going to do was get Kairi Sane back to the WWE. We've seen that happen since. And with that happening, she was also working with Stardom and made a deal with WWE, they suspect, while under contract. Now, they could negotiate with her while she was under contract. Bushiroad was open about that, but no deal could be signed. So that would be contact tampering. That is one of the many things he's accused of. One part of this is all the rumours and reports about Julia moving over from Stardom. There are many, many theories and accusations against Rossi Ogawa that he's working to move people like Julia from Stardom to WWE while they are under Stardom contract. Tony Khan is said to be fully aware of this, so his actions on Twitter over the last few days engaging with this story are not a particular surprise. When it comes to people leaving Stardom, it's believed that there'll be a few going, but not a mass exodus. Rossi Ogawa, as was brought into the chat earlier, thank you very much, is planning to start his own promotion, likely to be women's wrestling, and yes, likely to be a feeder to the WWE. Dylan says, Tom, you mentioned earlier WWE trying to go international with WrestleMania. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Triple H that it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it probably wouldn't. What I'm saying with international is international viewership, not international travel. To my knowledge, WrestleMania has never been discussed to leave the United States, but moving it an hour earlier does help for international viewership. That's what I was referring to. I appreciate the chance to clarify that. Spider-Boss says, sometimes I think all this love for Cody is just people that want to see Roman lose the title. I wouldn't go that far, but I wouldn't go that slow either. I wouldn't go that near. That's the phrase. Daniela says, who do you reckon could challenge Gunter next? By the way, I think Gunter's matches are fantastic. I look forward to each of his matches. I'm not sure. Personally, I'd be leaning towards giving Damian Priest the opportunity. Might as well. No, Roger, I've not watched Vengeance Day as of yet. Alex says, I wonder how The Rock is taking this negative reaction. I wonder if he reconsiders he is a people's champ. At the end of the day, maybe he needs to listen to the people. That is going to be a big one. That's going to be a big one. Okay? I just want to mention that. As regards the people champ, losing potentially the People's moniker. Gotta be careful. Spider-Boss says, I liked your video about Becky. I remember Becky once worked with Saraya and her mom years ago. Thank you very much for watching. Marcel says, did you see The Rock in the promo against Jinder? After 2 moves already out of breath, this will be a bad and short match. 2 more months, guys. 2 more months to build cardio. It's not impossible. Not yet, Eric. That is coming up. 2 more pieces. So 1 piece of news and then that. That's true, Blue, but there's a couple of things to discuss. Firstly, Ospreay was permitted by request of Tony Khan to sign a deal while working for New Japan. Also, that's New Japan, not necessarily Stardom, different companies. And while Kairi did have a non-exclusive contract, there's nothing to say that contract didn't include special clauses that avoided certain companies like WWE. Alice says, are you expecting Tony Khan's announcement on Wednesday to be something about Mercedes money? Personally, yes I am. Mustafa says, Cody and Jey Uso on the Rock side during the match. There is something more cooking here than meets the eye. Richard says, hello Tom, if WWE stick with Roman Rock and Cody Seth, where does this leave Sami and Drew at Mania? Sami Zayn probably versus Drew McIntyre, beating Drew McIntyre, then Drew McIntyre either signing a new deal or just not. It was a special edition, Khalid, and it's still responsible for the most subscribers I've ever gained in one show with 50, so not a bad spot. One says, wouldn't be surprised if he was trying to move Maria May to WWE too. She chose AEW. AEW were trying to get Maria May a long time ago, including just before the pandemic. That is an exclusive for you. I'd be down for that coup for free. I just don't know if Big E's cleared. Robin Dave says, where will Bayley be on WrestleMania? That's also going to be mentioned as our 3rd piece of news. Bayley says, do we expect to see any more news coming up on John Laurinaitis allegedly turning against Vince McMahon? There will be more statements. After that, I don't know. Keane says, WWE did everything so backwards it's going to be hard to fix. Rock versus Roman should have happened at Elimination Chamber. Neither of them are capable of working the event at the moment. Hector says, my biggest issue with The Rock in this situation is that as a board member in his past, he brings a lot to TKO and could help with a lot of financial deals, yet he wants to wrestle instead. He will be doing both. It's not instead, he'll be doing both. Number of the Devil, I've responded to a number of comments on this. As regards a triple threat, everything is on the table, but it's unlikely at this point in time. Spider-Boss says, it surprised me how Jey Uso's moment slowed down after he joined Raw. Jey was over with the Bloodline storyline. Yeah, and thus he needed the Bloodline to stay over. Just like Sami Zayn did for a while. Carl says, I think Drew will be on his way to either AEW or TNA very soon. Leon says, Drew and Sami will probably be in a sponsorship battle royal at WrestleMania. To be clear, Sami Zayn has dropped pretty far down the card, so's Kevin Owens since last year, and Drew McIntyre has not signed a new deal. If he doesn't sign a new deal, why would they give him a good match at WrestleMania? Like, why would they do that? I don't think we can blame them. Richard says, who can you see helping Bayley against the fight against Damage Control? Nobody. Nobody. At first, she needs to deal with Dakota Kai. Mustafa says, if Money in the Bank is cashed in on Seth before Mania, that changes the complexion of the situation and lets Seth recover. He will not be doing so. Thank you, Khalid. Appreciate you. Chris said, is there any word on Bron Breakker at Mania? Nothing major at the moment, though I wouldn't be surprised if Bron Breakker squashes Drew McIntyre. Blue says, New Japan isn't a different company from Stardom, though they all belong to Bushi Road. Okay, just to pause. You've made a comparison there. TKO is a managing company of UFC and WWE. UFC and WWE are not the same company. They're not. Bushi Road may be overarching of Stardom and New Japan. That does not mean Stardom and New Japan are the same company. Not at all. Far from it. Razar says, can't wait for the entire Samoan family tree to interfere in the Rock versus Roman match. There'll be a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's only smoke and mirrors. Khalid, I'm not sure. Personally, I think as regards Finn Balor, he will have already signed a new deal, but I can't say that with any certainty at this point in time. Just a clarification on previous reports as regards Vince McMahon under federal investigation. This federal investigation started before July 2022 and could have started as early as April that year, which, just to be clear, means that Ari Emanuel, when forming TKO, went on TV and openly praised Vince McMahon, demanded that Vince McMahon be involved in the company, ensured his employment, knowing that Vince McMahon was actively under federal investigation. It's not a big piece of news, but I definitely think it needed mentioning. Will, thank you very kindly. Another generous donation. Says, do you know how The Rock and Nick Khan feel about Cody? They are pro Cody. They are fans of Cody. There is no actual animosity or dislike that I am aware of. Roger says, would you be interested in seeing Durana Perazzo versus Mercedes Money in AEW? Yes. Daniela says, now that Melo has turned on Trick, will he stay in NXT a little longer to do the feud? I'm hoping he lands on SmackDown soon. I suspect he will have the feud come up after WrestleMania in the draft. Spider-Bell says, I thought Naomi would make the save when the Kabuki Warriors were beating up Bayley, but Bayley handled the Kabuki Warriors on her own. It's about Bayley. If you add another person, it stops being about Bayley. They've got to give her some time. Robin Dave says, any news on Gunter at WrestleMania? The opponent for him has not yet been finalised to my knowledge. I'm excited to see who we get. Keem says, The Rock wants the table, not the title. I think they need to establish that. The Rock wants the title. The Rock wants it all. He wants it all, and he wants it now. Razar says, Tiffany Stratton got officially called up to SmackDown. Do they have plans for her to be on the WrestleMania card? I can see her being Bianca's WrestleMania opponent. Don't know what the plans are, but they do have WrestleMania plans for her. Aled says, I want to know what The Rock whispers into Cody's ear on Friday. That's what I'm interested in. Cal says, I feel the Vince allegations, and may I state allegations, could have more people involved. Once again, I say allegations, my views, and not Tom's. Appreciate that, Cal. As regards these allegations, there is an active, ongoing investigation. Other people may end up being involved, whether they want to or not. We have just hit 100 likes. 100 likes. Also, brand new record for the show, 161 viewers. Guys, I'm starting to think this whole YouTube channel concept might actually work out for me. I have news on Liv Morgan, and it's not going to make people happy. There is no big push planned for Liv Morgan at this point in time, at least until the WWE are confident that she has fully recovered. She was in the Royal Rumble, still not 100%, though she had been cleared. The WWE are not planning to rush her. They are concerned that, much like with SummerSlam, when they brought her back too early and she ended up getting hurt again, that they would force her into a situation where she did get hurt again. There is no big plan right now for any push for Liv Morgan. I know I get questions about it. I'm not going to hide it. I know it's going to make a lot of people unhappy. I don't care. That's the news. That's the situation. Also, as regards Bayley, when I posted about the Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley match being back on the table to main event night 1, I received a lot of backlash, and a lot of people did say that they would rather see Bayley versus Io Sky. I did some digging, and there is no real push from creative right now to see Bayley and Io Sky main event either night of WrestleMania. There is still talk of Becky versus Rhea main eventing over Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes, but that might diminish a big moment for Damian Priest, so the idea is either one of them opens the show and one of them closes it. It depends what the overall plan is, because after all, if they open with Cody versus Seth and Damian Priest cashes in for a heist of the century, sure feels like anything can happen at WrestleMania, doesn't it? Blue says, who would deal with potential contract tamper? I don't know this one. I don't know this one. Also, once again, that for the purposes of what you're saying, you might think they're the same company. They're not the same company. They're not. Bushi Road is not responsible for all contracts. That's not the case. It's not. Hector says, do you see WWE starting to heat up Jade? That they're going to have her on the Mania card. Logically, a story would need to begin fairly soon. Not necessarily. A story could begin as little as 2 weeks beforehand. Personally, I think they'll keep her relatively on camera, but the actual story will kick in shortly after Elimination Chamber. You guys know who I think she's facing, and that's why. Spider-Boss says, do you think Roman retains his title against The Rock? Yeah, I do. Thank you, Chris, for like 101. We're now to like 107. We're breaking records tonight, guys. At least for 2024, we're breaking records. Keem, Vince didn't promise The Rock jack shit. Vince McMahon was not slightly involved in any of this. Just to be clear. Daniela says, I hope to see more of Liv and Andrade tonight on Raw. Liv only had a backstage exclusive interview last week, which was weird. Not that weird. She's not fully covered. Zane says, was there any matches on last week's SmackDown you didn't like? There's always something on SmackDown I don't like nowadays. Eric says, I completely understand. I love her, but I get it. Let's make sure she's fully healthy before they push her. Yeah. Blue says, Liv fans going after Becky on social media is very weird, as if Becky versus Rhea hasn't been obvious for months, or that Becky hasn't spent the year putting in a lot of work for other wrestlers. I did see that. It was very strange. Cal says, we do not know if Vince promised The Rock this. Nope. I do know. Vince McMahon was not involved in any of this with The Rock. Okay? Not involved at all. Robin Dave says, question is, who would Damien cash in on? The match. He'd cash in on the match. it would then be a triple threat match. Jordan says, congrats on the numbers for tonight's stream, Tom. Great to see your channel continuing to grow. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. 107 likes, more than 150 people here. Some new subscribers as well. We're now up to 5,579. A very good day for this chat and a very good day for this channel. I hope to see plenty more of you here once again for Friday when we go live again as well. One says, even though I love Rock versus Roman, 2015, when Rock got booed for raising Roman's hand at Rumble, was a time to do it. It had heat and momentum. But at the time, Roman Reigns then was not who Roman Reigns is now. Spiderboss says, it's good. WWE don't want to rush Liv Morgan's in-ring return. Absolutely it is. Alex says, I just want to see Bianca Belair. That's why I watch WWE. You'll get plenty of her. Rizal says, that's a bummer. They aren't considering Bayley to main event, but didn't WWE make the tag match last year the main event pretty close to the show, or am I remembering it wrong? They made it the main event in the last week of the build to WrestleMania. Chris says, Bayley's promo on SmackDown was Bayley's best promo ever. And Cal says, they haven't half put themselves in a pickle, have they? They really have. I'm going to do a recap now of the top story. So I'm going to recap all of the news for The Rock, Cody Rhodes, Ari Emanuel, Nick Khan, WrestleMania in general, Seth Rollins as well. I'm going to recap all of that and go through it again for anyone who has missed it, because I know at the time we certainly had, 40, 50 people here? So I'm sure we can do a recap now. I'll go through it again so everyone's aware of where we are. While I'm doing that, 2 more likes gets us to 110. Please continue doing so. And remember, what I want from you now, to get the chat rate absolutely flying, I want a side. I'd like to know which side you're on. We're doing it on Twitter, we're doing it on social media. I want to see you guys go nuts. We want Cody, we want Rock. I want to see it dominating the chat. Dominating the chat, okay? Go nuts for me. I want to see it. What do you think is going to be happening? Who's your guy? So, The Rock had a meeting with Ari Emanuel of TKO, a number of TKO officials, and Nick Khan. There was no Vince McMahon involvement. There was no Triple H involvement. At that meeting, he officially joined the board of directors with intent of returning to wrestling as and when his schedule allows. It is not a one-match deal, to my knowledge. He is looking for more than just the one match, which I'm very interested to see how many matches we actually do get. The reaction that he's received subsequently has been utterly terrible. And this has made a lot of people very happy in the WWE. While The Rock himself is not said to be particularly happy with the reception he's received, CM Punk has never been proven right so quickly. Triple H, who wasn't even slightly involved in any of this, also is watching what is happening, and certainly it really justifies his position. I can confirm that The Rock did request a championship run. He has brought in his own personal member of the creative team, Brian Gewirtz, who is going to work on his writing for The Rock, and indeed writing for Roman Reigns, which we did see the first part of this week on SmackDown. Gewirtz is not working with the current creative team. Even though he technically works under Triple H, he's not at the moment working directly in that involvement. Now, Triple H may choose to push back against the idea of a championship run, and that is his prerogative. He is the chief content officer. But at this point, Triple H has been overruled for the biggest wrestling match of the year. He has been overruled. Now, the change was only made official a couple of days before Cody announced it on SmackDown. At the Royal Rumble and at Monday Night Raw, the vast majority of people in that locker room that I've spoken to were confident that the WrestleMania match was Cody versus Roman. They were absolutely certain. In fact, it's believed that even Cody himself didn't know until very late in the day, which is why, after winning the Royal Rumble, he pointed at Roman. That was the plan, and up until after Monday Night Raw, he still believed that that was the plan. Now, the reaction that Cody is getting right now, the WWE are happy with. There is no Daniel Bryan plan, as Dave Meltzer is mentioning. There was no intention to frustrate Cody in order to make him a bigger star. That wasn't something that was actually planned and wasn't something that was mentioned. But seeing the amount of love that Cody Rhodes is getting is something that's making Triple H very happy. It does feel like there's a bit of a fight ongoing right now for control of WWE, particularly for control of that WrestleMania main event. And at least when it comes to the fans, Triple H is winning. For Cody Rhodes, right now, he's expected to face Seth Rollins, potentially main eventing night 1 of WrestleMania instead of night 2, a rematch from many WrestleManias ago. Now, a number of wrestlers, including first and foremost Logan Paul, are now in on the joke, and they're actively being encouraged to have some fun with it, which is why you're seeing also people like Ricochet saying, we want Cody. Also, to be fair, Logan Paul is trying to put himself against The Rock so that he can have a match with The Rock. Logan Paul genuinely believes The Rock versus Logan Paul will be one of the biggest box office draws in wrestling history. He genuinely believes that. One final thing to touch on, a number of people have received death threats over this. Death threats. As someone who received death threats for reporting accurately that NXT UK during the pandemic was exploring options to shut its doors, eventually becoming NXT Europe and reopening under that guise, I'm not happy seeing anyone receive death threats. There is never a good reason for death threats. Never. And that is pretty much all the news I have on that one. Spiderboss says, do you think we could see Bianca versus Jade this year? I find it unlikely, but not impossible. Spiderboss wants Rocky. I'm going to try and catch up here. You're not angering me, Blue. You're not angering me. I apologise for coming over a bit terse. You're not angering me. To my knowledge, all I can say is that's not the case. You may find things which disagree with that. To my knowledge, that's not the case. That's all I can say. Taylor says, late to the stream, so I wanted to check if you've given your thoughts on The Rock. That was our recap. Our opening story is a bit more details, like 10 minutes of fleshed out stuff, answering some questions as well. If you want more details on it, by all means, zip back and get to that first piece of news, and you'll get that as well. AJG says, I came back in 2022 for this, The Rock. Yeah, apparently. Hector says, I know it'll never see the light of day, but I'd love to see the terms of The Rock's deal as a board member of TKO, especially what are the guarantees, belts, matches, etc., and if there's any UFC tie-in. Do you mean XFL? Because you said UFL. Interesting. Keem, maybe not. Hard to say. Lovely. Sean says, the Vince situation has made me feel dirty being a fan. I was taking a break from wrestling during the name redacted incident, so I've never really felt like this before. I understand what you're saying. It's tough. It's difficult. And it kind of stays with you. You feel seedy. You feel kind of wrong. I don't blame you. Richard is here, says, hi Tom and all. I really hope The Rock isn't the one to end Roman's reign. Taylor says, it has to be Cody. They've been telling this story over multiple years, with all this leading to a huge payoff match with Roman and Cody. This story needs an ending. Hector says The Rock needs his own creative writer so he doesn't get caught with his lines on his hand this time around. Blue says, considering how he books the Rumble, it makes sense that Triple H wants to look forward, not back, which is exactly true. Castellar says, time for Drew to be the big bad heel of WWE. Not unless he signs a new deal. Richard said, Cody's picking Seth. Seems like it. Castellar says The Rock should have been the referee. There was no interest in that happening. Chris says, regardless of who Cody challenges, I'm predicting he wins, which I don't think is unfair. And Sean says, it's Mania 9 all over again. Castellar says, The Rock versus Roman will never be as good as The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Yeah, that's true. Carl says, death threats are never okay. These wrestlers and officials have children and families, are just doing a job they think best. Remember to be respectful. No worries, Blue. No worries. I'm always glad to have these conversations. If you find stuff and you want to dispute, dispute. At this point, I can't dispute back. All I know is that that's not the case to my knowledge. But you're always welcome to dispute. We welcome that here. I welcome a challenge. Castellar says, give me Uso versus Uso ladder match. What would be at the top of the ladder? What would be hanging? Roger says, I don't get why they would do Cody versus Seth Rollins when they're both baby faces, because babyface versus babyface historically has earned them a lot of money. Andrew Quinn says, PW and Ringside News, do you mean PWInsider, have tweeted WWE changed their WrestleMania 40 showtime to 6:30 EST. Thoughts on this? Well, the report from WrestleVotes was that they were actually going to be changing it to 7, wasn't it? That's even further back. I'm all right with that. Leon says, I'd rather Rock versus Roman happen in 2K games, not really at WrestleMania 40. Richard, no news at the moment on Okada. I still personally think he'll go to AEW. Spider-Boss says, when Tony Khan announces Mercedes money is all elite, fans will go crazy. Cool. Gotcha Blue, thank you. The spring football leagues merged XFL and USFL and now UFL. Gotcha. It says, for those mentioning Gewurz, he's been working at the Rock side for anything and everything since he left WWE the first time to go to Hollywood. Mick, hello, says, hi Tom, today from the bar next to my house. Thanks for all your great work. People are starting to trust your news and my translation now more. They accepted it is accurate news. That is great news, Mick. I see how well you're doing on TikTok. I see how well you're doing in general. I'm thrilled to see it and very, very happy that you're doing well. You are also helping in general to spread the word, and I'm very grateful to you for that. For anyone who does speak German, Mick does translate my news into German for his own content. I'm very appreciative of it. If you would like to use my news, it's all available. By all means, put it out there. Please just mention my name as the original source of it. Castle Laughing's Ivar is giving many great matches. Wrestling says Hollywood Rock again. The fans, that's something to watch. Cal says, I get your comment on Vince. I feel similar, Tom, and I feel wrong for all the times I cheered when he came on the TV. It's going to take a long time to come to peace with this one. Taylor says, where does the Money in the Bank cash-in fit into all this with the changes to both Raw and SmackDown programs? In the actual match for CM Punk, what was CM Punk versus Seth Rollins? That was the plan. I still think if it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, Mr. Heist of the Century gets Heist of the Century. Castellar says, on top of the ladder, a contract to keep or dissolve the bloodline. Nope, Roman would never allow it. Blue says, if you could decide how to go forward with The Rock, Roman and Cody, what would you do? I would put I'd put Roman versus Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania. I would open WrestleMania Night 1 with The Rock losing to Roman Reigns. Robin Dave says, can The Rock do a full 30-40 minutes? Yeah. Against Roman, he'll be lying face down on the floor for like 30 of the 40 minutes. Keem says, the Brian guy doesn't watch the product. How do you know that? Do you know him? Like, how do you know that? Castellar says, with an Uso winning a singles title in 2024, then to put that on top of the ladder. Which one? Would you have them beat Gunter just for this match? Personally, I wouldn't. Spider-Man says, do you think the women's division could get more TV time heading into WrestleMania 40? I do believe they could. Anything could happen. I don't believe they will. I don't believe they will. We've had 919 views. We've had 116 likes. We've had plenty of very generous donations, new subscribers, and plenty of viewers. We peaked at 161, which is the highest we've had for a year and a half. Spoiler warning, continues to build momentum. Stick around, you'll be seeing more of it. PLE Wednesday this Wednesday. Fun Fact Thursdays every Thursday now, and that is drawing people in. Slowly but surely, it's drawing people in. Those videos keep getting views longer than the first couple of days, which is exactly what they're there for. We have WTF Wrestling on Sunday as usual, but don't forget, if you want the live shows, if you want the news, if you want the exclusives before anyone else, spoiler warning, Mondays and Fridays is the place to be. Until then, we'll see you all soon. It is 8 minutes past 11. I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.